Good morning, learners. Good morning, everyone. How are you today? Okay. So, this is teacher Mary Joyce R. Alcantara representing the subject of English for academic and professional purposes. Last meeting, we discussed the difference between the academic text and non-academic text and also their examples. And today, we have our new lesson, which is types of text structures. But before we proceed to that, let's have our objectives. So at the end of this lesson, you will enumerate various text structures, extract information from different text structures, and also employ a type of language or discipline in crafting an academic text. First, we have here the types of writing: the narrative, argumentative, and informational. A narrative is the basic structure that writers use in presenting ideas. So this may inform through illustration and anecdotes to entertain readers through stories and to predict what will happen or how something works or happens. So this is basic, which means to say we have a objective and subjective. When we say objectives, this is based on a research, empirical truth, and based on facts. And a subjective, this is based in opinions, feelings, and have a biases. Okay? How do our writers present ideas? They present through an illustration, a graphic organizer, an anecdotes, right? Through notes. And also, in presenting an ideas, they use stories. They tell stories or they tell um, how, kung paano ang isang bagay ay nag-work or how it happens. Second is argumentative. Okay? So this goes beyond giving information. Okay, writers use this to let readers understand the side of an argument. For example, you are having a debate. How do you support, okay, your side? So basically, you will research or you will tell a reference or to support your claims is to have a supporting details. Okay? This should have also a valid reasoning. So, it means to say that if you support your claim, if you have a supporting details, okay, to support or give an information na pumanig doon sa side mo, you will give a valid reasoning. A valid reasoning, this may be based on a research and also cite a references. Third is the informational. Okay? So this basically just to develop ideas using techniques to present details and well-chosen sequences. For example, in the news is an example of informational, okay, that writers do in a newspaper. They have a chronologically sequence, like step by step on, for example, what is the weather for today or what is the weather for tomorrow. So that means to say very informational, and it is according to a have a scientific method, techniques and ideas and some trivias, and also some precautionary measures. Very informational, I should say. So, this one, okay, let's proceed na tayo sa types of text structure. We have 7 types of structure. The definition, the description, the classification, comparison and contrast, cause and effect, chronological, problem, and solution. We will discuss first the definition. Basically, a definition from the word to define. So, it is used in explaining unfamiliar terms, either to explain or to convince. For example, what is a typhoon, right? So, it will define, you will search sometimes on the Google the definition, what is the meaning of typhoon. And from the word define, definition, it is just to explain the unfamiliar terms, or I should say to explain, okay, what is a typhoon. So we have here types of definition. We have standard, regulatory, personal, and invented. So the definition, okay, the standard definitions, meaning to say it is a universally accepted and rarely changes. Pag sinabi po natin universally accepted, it's like ginagamit siya in the whole world. Agreement. Okay, for example, what is a universal language? So our universal language is English. Why? Because through speaking English, um, there is a unity. Nagkakaintindihan lahat ng tao. Even an Indian, a Chinese, a Japanese, or a Filipino, pag nag-usap-usap sila, they use English para magkaintindihan ng bawat isa. So, meaning to say, it's a universal. Okay? So, standard definition, it's a universal. For example, what is the meaning of photosynthesis? Okay? It is a process of converting sunlight into energy, right? So, that's universal. Okay? That is a nag-iisang definition ng photosynthesis na naiintindihan ng lahat, na meron ng lahat. Kaya nga siya tinawag na universal. Accepted siya. Okay? In the whole world. At hindi po siya nagbabago. And second one is the regulatory definition. Okay? It is assigned meanings based on an organization, regulating body and changes on situation. It is like a word in an organization, or in a clubs, for example. We have words, for example, all the science major, okay, they use, or some mathematicians, they use Sukatoa, 'di ba? In what? In solving a triangle, for example, 'di ba? So they use the term Sukatoa, pero ang nakakaintindi lang po 'yun mga mathematicians. Even as a science major, they know that. But that term is for only math, because that's the formula. Okay? The definition, ito yung mga words po na dinedefine ng mga organization, okay, or ng mga iba't ibang clubs, okay, ng mga, for example, sa school, 'di ba? Sa strand nyo, sa section nyo, okay? And then, we have here the personal definition. Pag sinabi natin personal definition, ikaw lang yung nagde-define ng isang word na yon. Ikaw lang may alam. This depends on the interpretations of the writer and experience by the writer. Okay? For example, you. For me, for example, ako. Okay? Meron akong isang word na dinedefine na ako lang ang nakakaalam. Because that is what I experience, or how I interpret. We have different personality, and we have different expectations, 'di ba? Fourth is invented definition. From the word invented, na invent lang. Okay, given meanings to words coined as a use by society. For example, LGBTQ, 'di ba? Yung mga wordings nila, for example, yung mga slang words, mga konyo-konyo, ang nagkakaintindihan lang po sa mga konyo words is yung mga konyo din na tao. Mga na-invent na words. Okay? For example, OTW, on the way, 'Di ba? Na-invent lang natin yon. Okay? Pero pag ang kausap mo is Chinese, sinabihan mo ng OTW, di nila magigets yun. Kasi na-invent lang natin yun eh. Tayo lang nakakaalam for example, 'di ba? Okay? So, second one, the types of text structure is the description. Okay, it is used by the writers to describe something. This may be an object, a person, place, experience, situation, or an event. Okay, how do you describe something? Diba? For example, um, what is the best place in the world? And then I answer is Paris. Paris, France. Why? It is because the Eiffel Tower. Because of the Eiffel Tower, because the restaurant, because the perfume, because of all of that. You describe that. Okay? You are describing, 'di ba? Situation or event. How was the party, for example? It's good. There's a lot of food. I love the food, right? You are describing. And third is the classification. So it is used by the writers to organize ideas into categories. For example, types of video games. How do you classify things, right? In your room, how do you classify your clothes? 'Di ba based on this cabinet is for shorts only, for pants only, for t-shirt only. That's how you classify. Okay? And then the fourth is comparison and contrast. You compare, okay, the difference or the similarities. So it is used to show how two ideas are alike and different. Okay, so what is the difference and the similarities of biotic and abiotic? So you define first their definition, 'di ba? So biotic is a living things, abiotic is non-living things. Okay, that's the difference. But what is their similarities, or I should say alike of two? Alike of the biotic and abiotic. Okay? So these writers present information by chunks and by following a sequence. Or you are answering a Venn diagram. Okay? You explain first what is their difference, and then in the middle or in between you write their similarities. Okay? For example, an Apple and an Android. What is their definition? Okay? An iPhone is it's used for good in camera. An Android is good for video gaming, like that. But what is their similarities? They both using in what? They have purpose in life. Okay? They have messages, 'di ba? They have messenger. But their differences is based on how or ano yung nakakaangat or ano yung maganda sa kanila. Okay, ang camera maganda ay ang camera. Ang Android maganda lang sa video games. Pero pareho naman silang ginagamit, 'di ba? For purposes in our daily life. And then cause and effect, sanhi at bunga. So it is used to explain why things happen and the result of a certain phenomenon. Okay? So um for a news, for example, a news of rape victim. Why that happened? Ano ang naging sanhi at ano ang naging bunga? Okay, so writers enumerate factors and possible outcomes resulting to phenomena or an events. Okay? So, bakit may bagyo? Bakit may climate change? Ano ang naging sanhi? Using of what? We are using a lot of chlorofluorocarbons. That's why the effects is the climate change. Okay? And then, chronological. Okay? So, chronological, it is used to show order of things. It's like a methods. Okay? Step by step. And then, how something happens and the logical arrangement of things. In history, 'Di ba? We use years in representing, for example, the theory of evolution. Okay, from Homo erectus to Homo sapiens, like that. And then sa monkey, sa unggoy, like that. Okay. So that's a chronological event. And also the first mass, okay? Oh, first mass. Ano ang kailan nagsimula ang first mass? Oh, saan? Sa Limasawa. Kailan? Oh, 1961. Like that. So, what comes first before the present and the future? Order of things, I should say. From the very first start to end. For example, in a scientific method, step one is the problem before coming into a conclusion. So they have a chronologically arrangement. Okay, this structure lends itself in other text structure in a sense that in narrating writers need to present a timeline of events in persuading people, writers, and then also to enumerate an evidence. Okay? Timeline of events. Pag sinabi po nating timeline of events, ano yung pinakauna bago siya napunta sa present up to the future? Order. Okay? Step 1 up to the last step. And also, you sa mga evidence, when we are representing an evidence, okay, sa news, for example, okay, may murder na naganap, ano yung pinakaunang ebidensya? Okay, nag-interview ka like that. Okay? And then, the problem and then solution. Pag may problema, may solusyon. It is used in showing patterns of organization where a dilemma is explained either through a solution or a dilemma is explained and a solution is or given. Okay? So, ang ibig sabihin lang po nito, if there is a problem, there is a solution. If the dilemma is problem, you also have the dilemma of solution. You are, for example, you are answering a problem solving. So, what is the speed of a tricycle in 188 kilometer per hour? And then you convert that into a meter per second. So, syempre, you need a solution. What comes first? The formula, 'di ba? Or if you have a personal problem, so don't stuck that in your mind, 'di ba? So, anong gagawin mo? Susolusyonan mo, 'di ba? So that's it. Okay? So that's the 7 types of text structure. And now, let's move forward to the reading strategies. When you are reading, 'di ba, that's a organizing words, 'di ba? So how you read? So we have here the purpose of reading. We read because to better understand existing ideas, to get ideas that can support a particular writing assignment, or to gain more information. We have different purposes why we read. Okay? Para mas maintindihan maigi, para ma-memorize, and also to have an existing ideas, because sometimes when we search on the Google the definition of something, we need more definition para mas maintindihan natin maigi. And then to identify the gaps in existing studies. What are the gaps? Okay? Or to connect new ideas to the existing ones. Okay? And then, critical reading strategies. How do you critically thinking? How you think when you are reading? So we have here critical reading. We have before, during, and after. Okay, let's explain the before reading. Okay, so we have here the different following questions. Siyempre, pag nagbabasa tayo, why am I reading this text? Or I should say, why I am reading this text? It's because to support some ideas and also to gain more information. What information or pieces or information do I need? What do I want? What do I want to learn? Bakit ako nagbabasa? Ano yung gusto kong malaman? Ano yung gusto kong mapag-aralan? Okay? So, you will determine which type of academic text you are reading. Diba? We have 6 types of different academic texts, diba? The essays, the thesis, the dissertation, the textbooks. Okay? So, na-discuss na natin yan last meeting. And then also, you will determine, establish your purpose of reading. And then, before reading, you identify the author's purpose of writing. Okay? Sometimes, when we read the stories, fictional, even fictional or scientific, 'di ba? What is the purpose ng author or ng writers? Bakit niya isinusulat yung phenomenon na yon? And then also to inform the main idea or argument of the text based on the title. Ano yung naging main idea? What is the climax? What is the purpose? And also identify the attitude towards the author and then the text. We have different feelings, right, when we are reading something. So when we are reading some stories like love story, there's a lot of feelings. You in love, you're being sad, or even watching a movies. There's a lot of attitude, 'di ba? Na ini-insert or ini-infer natin doon sa author, and then when we are reading to the text, it's like we are having a communication doon sa author and state what you already know and what you want to learn. Okay? So, sometimes our objective when we are reading is we want to learn a lot. Okay? And then determine the target of the audience. And then also, when we go to the library, so, ang libro doon is naka-classify according to subjects. Okay? So, what is your target? For example, today my target is science. I want to learn or gain new information in science. So, that's the target audience. Okay? And then, check the publication date for relevance. And then, nakasulat din doon yung mga publication date. Kung kailan sinulat ng author, kung kailan pinublish, like that. And then, check the reference while making sure and consider the corrections of formatting style. So, the academic text, there is a references and then also the formatting style. So, we will discuss the formatting style soon. Okay? So, the APA style, like that, American style of writing. And also, use a concept map or graphic organizer to note your existing ideas and knowledge on the topic. Sometimes, when we read, we are also writing our notes, diba? Okay, or a keywords. When we are reviewing something for the quiz or for the exam, while we're reading our module or our book, okay, nagsusulat pa rin tayo sa gilid or sa sticky notes ng mga keywords para mas madali nating maalala or to better understand something. Okay? Ano naman po yung during reading? Mga critical reading strategies during reading. So, you will write keywords, phrases, in bullet form. Okay? So, binubullet form natin or sometimes we underline the word. Right? Okay? And write something on the page margin where important information is found. Sometimes we circle or encircle the keywords or the most important information and then write a brief note on the margin. Okay? And also, we write questions to that confusing word na nabasa natin. And then, what you already know about the ideas. Sometimes we write limitations of the author's arguments. Okay? And then, the reliability of the text. It is logical ba, concise ba, or reliable? It's based on facts ba? Or and then we comment sometimes the author's biases. Okay? Identify the evidence or supporting arguments presented by the author and check their validity and relevance. How do you check the validity and relevance of the text? Okay, if it is concise, okay, and precise, okay, or verifiable. And also, we identify the finding and note and appropriateness of the research method used. What is the research method used? Okay, so this, for example, in a research in your practical research, you are writing research. For example, what do you do in the methodology? 'Di ba? You insert the steps how you gather the data or the instruments you use to gather the data before you proceed to the conclusions, right? Ano yung statistical and probability na ginamit mo, like that. Okay? The appropriateness na ginamit mo. And also, we use the concept map or the graphic organizers to better understand some lesson. Sometimes, the teachers nagpe-prepare ng activity of a concept map or graphic organizers to, okay, para makita nila kung how deep you understand the lesson. Okay? From the beginning to the present, right? And then, react on the arguments presented in the text. Okay? You underline the important words or phrases, or you encircle the meanings or the definitions. And also, we have here the highlighter. Okay? Also, ito yung uso ngayon eh. We use highlighter, di ba? We highlight the essential part or the very important part. Okay? And also headings and transition words to identify the relationship of the text. Okay? So, a topic is also have a subtopic. Okay? And also, what? You determine the main idea and then synthesize the author's argument at the end of the sections or chapter. Sometimes, fino-fold pa natin yung book or page, di ba? Pag meron tayong gustong klaruhin. And then, how about strategy after reading? After we read something, we reflect on what we learn. Ganito pala. Like that. What is the moral lesson? If we are reading a story like that, diba? What information, how much you gain on something that you read, and then you react on some part through writing, and also we react in the structure of the text, like their grammatical, if it is grammatically wrong or not, diba? Their alignment, if it is naka-justify or what. Okay, we discuss some parts with your teacher or classmates. Kinukwento natin minsan sa classmates natin, 'di ba? Kung ano yung nabasa mo. Or we share it to others. For example, a teacher, they read the book, then share it to the class. Like that. And then link the main idea of the text to what already know. Okay? You will link. Pag sabi natin link, yung relationship nila with the other ideas. Okay? It's like a connection. Now, let's have here other reading strategy, the SQ3R. So, this is the very intelligent strategy, the SQ3R. We have the survey, the questions, and then we have 3R. What are those 3R? The read, the recite, and then the review. Okay, let's have first the survey. Survey is skim the text. Okay, we skim the text. Okay, not scanning. Pag sinabi nating skimming the text, we are check the headings, the tables, the diagrams or figures represented in the text. What comes first? You read the first few and the last sentence of the text to determine the key information. Okay? Or you will get the feel of the text. Ang ibig sabihin lang po or difference ng skimming at scanning, ang skimming po is para mo siyang binabasa in a fast way. Pero pag scanning kasi, meron ka lang some part of the word na hinahanap. Okay? And then question. Very important. Annotate the headings with your questions. When we are reading, okay, we have a lot of questions. Develop a question on the types of the information you expect from the text. Even though na-search mo na yung meaning or information na gusto mong makuha, syempre, kapag nabasa natin yung definition, there's a lot of questions also that comes in your mind because of the linkages or the connections with others. Okay? And then read. Look for answers to your questions as you read. Read and read and read. Stop and slow if the passage is not clear. Make sure to proceed reading only when already understand the previous text. Okay? Recite. Recount the main points of the text. The first R is recite. Okay? How you recite? Syempre, you summarize or synthesize based on what you understand in the text. We are reciting sometimes orally, diba? Okay? It's like a memorizing. But sometimes, we also highlight or underline the important keywords or points that we read. The second R is the review. After we recite, we review the text. We go and back and reread again the questions or the answers that we find. And if not, we also refresh our memory and also evaluate. There is a judgment of what we've learned to ensure that we are convinced and satisfied doon sa information na na-present sa text. Okay? Sometimes, when we are looking for the answer to that topic, aside from reading in a book, we also having this Google, search tayo ng search to convince ourselves na that's the right definition. And then, that's it. Any question? So, if you have questions, just message me. Okay, so that's all for today. And have a nice day and keep safe always.